Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Saucy Picks MMA video. This week, it's been busy for me. I haven't had a ton of time to research these fights. I have been able to watch some film and do some research, but as far as extensive and intense research, again, I've been extremely busy. I've been extremely busy with work, and then on top of that, I'm actually headed out to Utah tomorrow, recording this on Wednesday. Heading to Utah tomorrow for a rifle mule deer hunt. So I've been busy. It's been a little difficult to find some time to research these fights, but we've been able to squeeze in a little bit for sure. We're gonna be going through a little bit quicker today. Again, like I said, been pretty busy and getting on the road pretty early tomorrow morning. So we'll uh we'll just zoom on through this, get through it quickly. Before we start, I'd like to review just a little bit of Tatsuro Taira versus Brandon Royval. Man, what a fight. It was, woo, it was a fight. It ended up making some money that night. I went up just over 4 units, it's a great night. And then, man, on top of it, that main event was phenomenal. Tatsuro Taira, props to him. He really, really showed some heart in there. He showed just simply, I think, a lack of experience. And Brandon Royval, man, he's an experienced veteran, super good everywhere. You could see Tatsuro Taira definitely excelled in the grappling department. Brandon Royval was able to hang in there, but Tatsuro Taira's hips were good. His BJJ was phenomenal. His position over submission was just next level. It was so good. So, man, it was a great fight. Again, went up over 4 units. The DFS plays we did really well, and then I ended up laying some. It was last minute. I was down actually on the night, and I decided to put. I want to say it was zero point 0.7 units on Brandon Royval money line. I should have done more in hindsight, but it was a good bet. I love the bet, and that actually ended up breaking us pretty close to even, a little bit more than even on just the straight bets on the night. So yeah, we did well. But man, what a fight. It was a really, really good fight. And then, there was a couple of other decent fights on that card. It wasn't overwhelming by any means, but it wasn't bad. But hard to look past that main event. Really, that's what man, that was a fight. That was a great fight. A lot of split decisions for sure. I've been noticing a lot of split decisions lately, which has been super unfortunate. Actually, Dana White Contender Series last night, I played Nick Piccinini on the money line and had lost with the split decision. I thought he won it personally, but it did is what it is. So anyway, without further ado, let's get into this. So we've got Michel Pereira versus Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, which is awesome. That's going to be a really good fight. And to be honest with you, this fight card really isn't terrible. There's a few, these first early prelims are they're all right. I haven't, like I said, I haven't had a ton of time to get into them, at least the early prelims anyway. But I'll go over them and see what we can do. We've got 11 fights total on this card. We've had, I believe, 2 cancellations. One of them being Brady Heastand right down here. You can see Brady Heastand withdrew against Jake Hadley, and I believe let's see who's stepping in. Yes, Smotherman. Cameron Smotherman is stepping in. He's been fighting in Fury FC. He's not a bad fighter for sure. Really good hands. And then the other dropout was Rayanne Amanda, who she broke her arm, it looks like. So starting off with the first fight of the card, we've got the freak of nature, Robelis Despain. This guy's a freak. All right. He did kind of get fraud checked his last fight out against I believe it was Waldo Cortez Acosta. We expected Robelis Despain to do what he did. At least I did. He's a phenomenal judo practitioner, and then on top of that, I believe it's Taekwondo. He's got some phenomenal hands, and his kicks. He moves really, really interesting for a big guy. Austin Lane coming off a loss to oh man, what's his name? He's a Brazilian dude. He was on the Contender Series last year. I don't remember his name, but he's a really heavy hitter. Austin Lane, he's surprised in that first round. He was able to get some takedowns, which is what he needed to do, and ended up getting caught in that second round and knocked out. Uh, But Robelis to Spain, like I said, he got fraud checked just a little bit in his last fight. I was expecting him to go out and have some better takedown defense than he did, and he just unfortunately could not find a way to stop the takedowns and lost that fight. I did have some money on him as well, and it was unfortunate to lose that just because he's such a freak of nature. You know, he's what, 6'8", 6'7", moves like a freaking welterweight. His striking is so good. You know, I thought his judo was, his judo was good, but his takedown defense was not as good as I thought it was going to be. He's a huge favorite here, which scares me for sure, especially coming off of his last fight. Uh, it's super, super scary to be a minus 385 favorite, but it is what it is. Austin Lane, if he can come out, uh, it's going to be a tough one for him, to be honest with you. He might be able to land a takedown or two, but I think Rebellis to Spain is going to be able to learn from his mistakes from his last fight. He's going to go out there and hopefully, hopefully defend takedowns. And if he does get taken down, get to the cage, work his way up, get to space, do what he does, and land bombs. I think that's going to be the story here. Rebellis to Spain he's gonna go out there, get a KO. I could see, maybe a round two prop for Rebellis to Spain, round two KO. Is very likely. I mean, Austin Lane, like I said, his last fight, Denise, his last name is Denise. Um, he went out against Denise and he took him down the first round, and it was a close first round. Denise probably won it, but uh, I could see Austin Lane doing the same thing here. He is a phenomenal athlete, but all in all, Rebellis to Spain has the combat sport experience, so he's going to be the pick. But a round two, round one prop, round one's probably going to be a little chalky, but a round two prop is definitely something I might be looking at. But for the pick, Rebellis to Spain. Elise Ardeline and Melissa Martinez. So here's a fight that I don't have a ton of information on. I know Melissa Martinez is a phenomenal striker. A lot of her wins have come by TKO and KO. Uh, and then Elise Ardeline, she's kind of all over the place. You know, a lot of wins by decision, some by submission, and some by TKO. She's a slight underdog here, plus 130. And then, of course, Melissa Martinez. I want to say it's her debut here, minus 155 favorite. Definitely a fight I'm gonna stay away from on a betting perspective. Women's MMA in general is hard to bet. It's just very low level. I hate to say it, but it's very low level. Women's MMA, that's the best way I can chalk it up to be. So for the pick, we're gonna go with Melissa Martinez. I would guess Elise Ardeline is gonna want to come out with some, dirty boxing, as well as some clinch controls, cage time. She's probably going to shoot some takedowns. If Melissa Martinez can keep space, defend the takedowns, she'll piece Elise Ardeline up here, and I think she'll win, probably by decision, just because, like I said, it's women's MMA. But we're not gonna get too carried away on this fight. So the pick is Melissa Martinez. Same with this fight, Jessica Penne versus Elise Reed. We're not gonna spend a lot of time on this one. Elise Reed, not good at all. She is not a very good fighter. I want to say she's 3-4 in the UFC. Jessica Penne, not a bad fighter. I actually don't think she's a bad fighter at all. She's coming off a few losses, but to some good girls. I want to say she had a split decision with Lupi Godinez, which was a phenomenal fight. And then she's coming off a loss to Tabitha Ricci, who's on a hot streak here. Elise Reed, she got submitted by Lupi Godinez, not overly impressive. She's just, I don't know. I don't find her to be a very good fighter. I think there's some value here on Jessica Penne. Like I said before, women's MMA is a little bit sketchy to bet. It's most likely going to be left in the hands of the judges, which is such a shame to do nowadays because the judging is just so horrific. So the pick here is going to be Jessica Penne, probably by decision. I think she can probably control, or maybe not control, but at least get the better uh, everywhere this fight goes, on the ground, on the feet, especially on the feet. I think I think she'll be the better fighter here. Plus 130 doesn't look too bad. So I'm gonna go for a pick, Jessica Penne. All right, we have Tamiris Vidal and Jocelyn Edwards. Tamiris Vidal coming off of a boob TKO, I believe. She got punched in the boob and she basically quit there. I want to say it was a big right hand or a hard jab right to the pec or to the boob, and she felt it apparently because she basically waved the fight off on her own. So interesting interesting way to end the fight for sure for her last way out, her last time out. Jocelyn Edwards, relatively good fighter. I do think she's a good fighter. Uh, this will probably be a striking match. Vidal has some bombs. She has some hands for sure. She's got heavy hands. I could see Jocelyn Edwards coming in here trying to keep it at range, or you know, Vidal's not bad on the ground either way. I don't know. This is an interesting one. And like I said, I haven't looked too closely into it, but for the pick, we're gonna go with Jocelyn Edwards, probably by decision once again. That's three women's MMA fights right in a row. That's gonna be, your P breaks if you need them. Uh, but Jocelyn Edwards, probably better all around fighter. She's, if Vidal wants to take it to the ground, which she's probably going to be the one to most likely do that. Vidal, or excuse me, Edwards is going to be able to, I think she'll be able to defend takedowns, get to distance, and then, strike really well with Vidal. So, and frankly, if Jocelyn Edwards targets the boobs, she can just punch her in the boob again and get a boob TKO. So there you go. Let's see, who was that out? Let's see who she lost to that last one. Oh, come on. It was to Melissa Gatto. That's right. And they called it a body shot round three, 37 seconds in. It was a boob shot, folks. It was a boob shot. Big time. Big right hand, I believe, right to the left boob of uh of Vidal, and she called it. So there you go. Oh, gotta get out of here now. Bear with me here, folks. There we go. Okay, moving on. So we just covered Maris Vidal. Okay. Brad Katona versus Gene Matsumoto. I'm actually super excited for this. Not always excited when Brad Katona fights, just because he is a decision machine, ladies and gentlemen. He wins so many fights by decision. The dude's what, never had a finish in the UFC? Could have maybe had it in his last fight. It was close, but he's a good wrestler, good ground and pound. His jujitsu is okay. Gene Matsumoto, this guy's legit. This guy's the real deal. Brad Katona has never been finished in the UFC, I believe, and I think he could be live to get finished here. Gene Matsumoto is a phenomenal jujitsu practitioner. He's super good. He has crisp hands as well. Uh, Actually, last week, he submitted Dan Argueta, not last week, but Dan Argueta fought last week, who Gene Matsumoto submitted. He's a phenomenal jiu-jitsu guy, and Brad Katona is he's going to do what he does. He's going to clinch game. He's going to take down. He's going to, he has some good hands for sure. But if Brad Katona shoots a sloppy shot, Gene Matsumoto is going to wrap up that neck so fast, so fast. So I think Brad Katona is extremely live here to get finished. I believe he's never been finished in the UFC, but he is live here. Gene Matsumoto is for sure the pick, and even at at 245, I guess it is a little pricey, but an inside the distance prop is probably going to pay pretty well. I would imagine that number is a good number, so that'll be something that I'll be looking for here. Brad Katona coming in as a plus 190 underdog, not a lot of value. I don't think he wins this fight. I mean, I guess he could lay in the guard of Gene Matsumoto and just grind to a 3-round decision, but I don't think. I mean, Gene Matsumoto is so good with his jujitsu. He's going to have an active guard. He's going to want to get up when he does. He's going to try and find, arm bars and triangles when he's on his back. I just think Gene's too good here. So Matsumoto is for sure going to be the pick, and an inside the distance prop is probably where I'll look for this one. So moving on, Mateusz Nicolau. Chinny, Mateusz Nicolau, and Asu Almabayev. This is a no-brainer. I think these odds are, I don't know. I guess I would picture Almabayev to be a bigger favorite than he is, minus 185. That is, you know, fairly expensive, but I'd price him at a minus 220, minus 230 here. And here's why. Let me tell you why. Mateusz Nicolau no longer has a chin. We've seen him get chinned in his last two fights against Brandon Royval first, and then with a knee up the middle, and then Alex Pereira's just flatlined him. He has no chin. Mateusz Nicolau is a phenomenal BJJ player. He is really good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I think I've kind of been watching this one. I think Asu Almabayev the way I'm going to look for this is TKO. I know the dude's a wrestler. He's a phenomenal jiu-jitsu guy. I don't believe he has any TKOs, maybe one. Um, but the reason I say that is because I think Asu Amabayev is going to control Mateusz Nicolau on the ground, flatten him out, maybe find a ground and pound TKO. If not, Asu Amabayev does have some pretty good hands. You know, he's not the best striker in the world for sure, but he can set up the striking, or excuse me, set up the wrestling with the striking. And I think that alone Mateusz Nicolau, if you, I mean, honestly, a gust of wind is going to knock him out at this point. So I think if Asu Amabayev lands anything here, big right hand, and then a takedown to ground and pound finish, very, very live for a TKO for Asu Amabayev. So that's going to be the way I'm going to look. Like I said, the money lines minus 185 for Amabayev and plus 155 for Mateusz Nicolau. Stay away from the Nicolau side. Honestly, stay away. Look for the unders in this fight. At least for me, I think an under 2.5. I would imagine that's what the line's going to be set at. That'll be valued pretty well, priced pretty well. I think the value will be there. And man, the play here is Asu Amabayev inside the distance or TKO. I mean, really, I don't think he's going to find a submission just because Mateusz Nicolau is so good with his BJJ. He's going to be able to defend the submissions, but Asu Amabayev he can control really well. He's like a Dagestani wrestler. I know he's from I believe it's Argentina, but his wrestling is phenomenal. He can find the back, he can flatten Mateusz Nicolau out, and he can ground and pound this guy out of there. So the pick is going to be Asu Amabayev, and as far as bets go, I really think Asu Amabayev inside the distance or TKO or knockout is going to be the play here. So moving on to man, we got a bunch of old dudes here. Darren Elkins here and Daniel Pineda. Uh I've been a Darren Elkins fader here the last couple of fights. That's kind of a tricky one here for me. I think I still have to fade Darren Elkins here. Daniel Pineda, they're both old. Both these guys are old, man. They've been around a long time. Uh man, now that I think about it, the way Darren Elkins is going to win this fight is exactly how he wins every other one of his fights. And especially with Daniel Pineda in there, Darren Elkins, what he needs to do is weather the early storm. Daniel Pineda is going to come out hot, throwing bombs, maybe finding a takedown here or there. He's going to be trying to get Darren Elkins out of there in the first round. If Darren Elkins can do what he does, take damage, Darren the damage Elkins, right? If he can take damage that first round and just keep the forward pressure, grind out Daniel Pineda for 3 rounds, the later rounds is where Darren Elkins is going to really, really thrive here. Neither guy is super durable anymore, so that is a little bit scary for the Darren Elkins side because he could get chinned in the first round. Um, but I think for a picker, I was originally on the Pineda side, but breaking this down, just even talking through it here, I think Darren Elkins is going to be the pick. I think he's going to be able to weather the storm in the first round. The dude can take damage. He's not as durable as he used to be, but he can take damage still. Um, yeah, Darren Elkins is going to be the pick. I don't know. I'm probably not going to bet this fight just because it's so up in the air. So yeah, sure, it is a not confident pick, but Darren Elkins will be the pick here. Okay, Jake Hadley versus Cameron Smotherman. Cameron Smotherman coming in on short notice here, fighting out of Fury FC. He's been very active in Fury FC and trying to think of the word here. Very man, what's the word? I guess committed to Fury FC. So here he is coming in on short notice. He's replacing Brady Heastand, which I was a little sad for. I don't mind Brady Heastand, but that's all right. We've got, of course, Jake Hadley, who is coming off a win over, um, man, I am spacing his name. Blocky head looking dude. I had money on him last fight too. Anyway, it'll come to me, but he is coming off a win. It was a short notice win too, which was impressive. Um, he looked pretty good too. He's fighting here at bantamweight, which originally he was a 125er. So he's going up to 135 again. Um, we'll see. Cameron Smotherman, he's a little bit of an unknown for me. He does have really good hands, a lot of wins by knockout. but Jake Hadley definitely is a more experienced. He has some wrestling to go to if he needs to. He won his Dana White Contender Series by submission. So that's Colin Loughran. There he is. Jake Hadley coming off a win against Colin Loughran, which I had money on Colin. Jake Hadley was able to defend takedowns really well. He did get taken down a couple times, but Colin Loughran kind of gassed for sure, and Jake Hadley looked good, defended takedowns, pieced up Colin on the feet. Um, so I think the pick here is probably going to be Jake Hadley. The odds are not out on this fight yet. I would imagine Jake Hadley's probably a pretty sizable favorite just because Cameron Smotherman UFC debut coming in on what like 5 days notice, extremely short notice. Smotherman could get it done if he can find the openings, find his timing. But I think Jake Hadley's experience, his striking, and even if he needs to, his takedowns are going to be better. So for the pick, we're going to go with Jake White Kong Hadley. And again, betting wise, I imagine the lines will be pretty. Uh, I guess there could be some value on Cameron Smotherman depending on where he comes in at. But I'll probably stay away from this fight on a betting perspective. All right, so we have got Su Mudarji, the Tibetan Eagle, versus Charles Johnson. Man, Charles Johnson has looked phenomenal lately. I believe his last one was against Joshua Van, and he knocked Joshua Van out. I had money on Joshua Van as well. Um, man, Charles Johnson looked good. It was a close fight, I would say. It was maybe a round apiece up until that third round, and he landed a nasty uppercut, and he sent Joshua Van to the freaking canvas. But like I said, he was on the verge of getting cut. 3-fight losing streak, and then he just rattles off 3 wins here. So he's now on a 3-fight winning streak. Sumer Darji, he's a phenomenal striker. Same with Charles Johnson, and I really do think this is a sleeper fight on the card. This could be fight of the night. These guys are going to go out and bang. Charles Energy Johnson, he's probably the side to pick here. He's a relatively big favorite, minus 210. As Sumer Darji is coming at plus 170. I don't think there's much value on Sumer Darji's side. Charles Johnson's just looked too good. He's looked phenomenal his last few fights. He's gonna have a lot of volume. Apparently, he's got some power in his hands now after that, because I thought Joshua Van was extremely durable, and Charles Johnson was able to get it done. So for the pick here, we're gonna go with the Skullet Gang, Charles Johnson. And could go to a decision. I could see him getting a finish as well, but it'll be a really, really good fight. The co-main event, Rob Font versus Kyler Matrix Phillips. Huge underdog. I guess not huge, but bigger underdog than we've seen him lately is Rob Font. Um, I guess not against the Sandhagen fight, but Kyler Phillips here coming in. Kyler Phillips, man, he has looked really good. If at first he was a wrestler and a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy, more of a wrestler than anything. And really what has stood out to me lately and his last couple of fights is his hands. His boxing is really good. Rob Font, of course, as we know, a lot of volume, pretty crisp boxing. Um, but I think Kyler Phillips is the side here. Rob Font's getting up there in age. He's 37 now. Kyler Phillips only 29. Um, I really think Kyler Phillips is going to hang on the feet with Rob here. A lot of guys, they may come out and say that um, Rob Font, his hands are going to be better. And sure, they may have an edge, but I don't think it's going to be so vastly different that Kyler Phillips won't be able to hang on the feet. So I think Kyler Phillips will hang in there. I think he's going to find takedowns. He's also going to be able to, land some big shots on Rob Font. It'll probably be a 3-round decision. But yeah, Kyler Phillips is the side here for me. Minus 280 is a little too pricey as far as money lines go. But an over 2.5 or fight to go the distance is probably a good play. But yeah, once again, Kyler Phillips is going to be the side here for me. So moving on to the main event, the 11th and final fight on the card. This is a good fight. This really is a good fight. I think Anthony Hernandez, it's saying he's a favorite here, but I think a lot of guys are going to be overlooking him. I imagine that line shifts the other way. Michel Pereira, he's coming on, what is he on a 6-fight win streak? Anthony Hernandez on a 5-fight win streak. This is a tough one for me. It really is. This is a close fight. Michel Pereira is going to come out hot. land big shots. But here's the thing with Anthony Hernandez, is Fluffy. He can take shots. We saw against Roman Kopylov, he walked through Roman Kopylov's shots, some big ones too. He got hit with a lot of big shots, and he walked through them, found a takedown, found the back on on Roman Kopylov, found the rear naked choke, stuck his tongue out like he knew what he was doing when he sunk that choke in, and he won. So it's going to be hard not to take Anthony Hernandez here. It really is. I know Michel Pereira has a lot of hype. He's flashy and lands big shots. Um, he does have some submission skills, has some wrestling skills. He's got a lot of power in his hands, but I really think Anthony Hernandez is going to be able to take those shots, weather the storm, and with it being a 5 round fight, Fluffy Hernandez has a great gas tank. Michel Pereira can't really say the same in his loss. I don't remember who it was, but it was a bum, just 7 fights ago. He lost and to a nobody. Exactly my point. I can't even remember the guy's name. Uh, and he didn't look that good. And it's hard to forget that. It really is. I know it was 6 fights ago, 7 fights ago, but it's hard to forget that. And man, Anthony Hernandez is a beast. He really is good. He has really, really good hands. As we know, his grappling is phenomenal as well. He just choked out Roman Kopylov, which is a huge win because Kopylov's been on a streak. So, man, I really think for the pick here, I got to go with Anthony Hernandez. He's just got to really weather that storm because we all know Michel Pereira. He's going to come out hot, do some crazy things, backflips, jumping off the cage, Superman punches, big shots. So if Hernandez can weather that storm, I really think he has the skills to win this fight here. So for the pick, the official pick is going to be Anthony Hernandez. Uh, by way of decision, maybe I would say decision is probably his best way to win this. He could find a way to knock out Michel Pereira though for sure. So that's going to be the pick. But that's it for this one, boys. Like I said, sorry for the lack of social media posts this week. I'm really busy. I'm leaving tomorrow early, heading up to Utah, like I said before. But I'll keep you guys posted on how the hunt goes, and then I'll I don't know if I'll get many bets laid this week. If I do, I'll definitely post them on social media. You can find me on all social medias at Saucy Picks MMA _ MMA. I should have put that in my name. Sorry about that. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this week. It'll be a good night of fights. It really will be. And then, like I said, I'll do my best to stay up to date on social media, but it might be a little tricky as far as right now goes. But thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and make sure to tune in for. I'm going to try and get the Max Holloway versus Ilya Topuria fight breakdown out here shortly. Tune in for that. But yeah, thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and Saucy Picks MMA. We are out of here.